For me? Don't. Thank you, Elementary. That's so kind. Ow! What the hell? So I can have it. You're telling me I can? Okay. Stop doing that. Are you for real? I can have it. I can have it this time. I don't trust you anymore. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Elementary Season 7, Episode 4, Red Light, Green Light. So this one's pretty good. The main case is one of those where there's a lot of different things it could be, and they keep going back and forth between, well, is it about, I don't even remember the name of the gang now, like Maratres or something like that. Is it about them? Is it about some terrorist attack? Like, what's going on? Is the government trying to take down this gang, and so they caused this wreck? There's a lot of different things, and it ends up being something completely unrelated to all of that. I've seen it before. At least it was tied in a little bit to how the story wraps up, and that the gang is actually called in to take out the DOT guy who actually caused the wreck. So it wasn't completely unrelated. It wasn't like we just put that to bed and said, all right, we're done with the gang, so let's move on to whatever this is. It was still connected. So I do appreciate that. And I do think overall it was wrapped up decently enough. It did still feel that same familiar feeling that I get from the show over the past few seasons, though, where all of a sudden we're just talking to the guy who's behind it all, the head of this construction company. And Bell and Holmes are basically just laying out everything they've discovered off screen, which means we didn't get to see any of that being discovered and found out and pieced together. It was just, yeah, here we are. We're at the end. We figured it out. You're the bad guy. Time to arrest you. I don't know. It's just not as fun for me whenever that happens. It feels like they wasted our time on all these other different possibilities. And I know that's part of Sherlock's thing is he explores every avenue of possibility until he arrives at the final thing. Like when everything else has been eliminated, the final thing, however improbable, has to be the truth. I get that. I get that you have to explore these different things, but I still would rather we spend less time creating these different possibilities and spend more time showing the case actually being solved, showing Holmes looking into all of this stuff and piecing it together. That's more fun for me. So that part of it was disappointing. Also, there was the scene with the one guy who's the inside man. They did show a previously on scene with him, but I don't remember him at all. But they have this opening scene with him when Holmes is going to see him, and he's giving this speech about, like, oh, we hit him with aggression. We did a good job today, guys. And it's worded in a way that could be taken, knowing that he is a gang member, or he was at least. He's saying all this stuff in a way that could be taken as if we just went into a gang war and we just kicked the shit out of them. We just killed all these guys. But he's talking to a little kid soccer team. And I've seen this done so many times, and it's never funny. It may have been funny like the first couple of times it was done, if you've never seen this before, but when you've seen it as many times as I have, basically as soon as they set it up, as soon as they do a behind the shot that's up so you can't see who he's talking to, he's wearing like you could tell it's kind of like a track jacket type of thing. It doesn't look like something a gang member would wear. And it's in this nice, sunny, well-lit place. I'm just looking at all this going, he's not talking to gang members. He's probably talking to kids. This is probably a sporting event. That's the joke. Cool. I predicted it all, so it was not funny. The only other thing to talk about with the main case that, in my opinion, should have been easy for Holmes to see through is whenever they do figure out that it's the truck driver that they were going after, and they were trying to cause a wreck with the truck. Here's the thing. In my mind, that to me says they're probably trying to take out whatever's in the truck. And even with that in mind, it still is pretty unlikely that you're going to cause a wreck with a truck that is going to destroy whatever is in the back of it. But nowhere in my mind did I think they're trying to go after the truck driver. And yet they spend like a good 5 to 10 minutes questioning him to figure out why somebody would want him dead. And all I could think is, you really think somebody is gunning for him by trying to have somebody run into a semi-truck at a red light? You really think that's the goal, is I'm going to kill this guy as he's driving a semi-truck? What wreck is going to kill him? Another semi maybe, but how are you going to plan that? If the goal of the mastermind was to hit that semi-truck at a red light, more than likely he's trying to destroy whatever's in the back of it. He's not trying to kill the driver. But the real intrigue in this episode, though, comes from the whole story with Gregson looking into this terror cell, possibly, that's out there. And we do see he's here. He's back. They did do a little fake out at the beginning with Sherlock having a dream at Gregson's gravesite, which I thought was pretty stupid. And the thing is, like, even before Holmes told the guy that he knew this was a dream, I was looking at it going, this feels like you're trying to do shock value, but there's no way you would actually kill off Gregson like this. There's no way we wouldn't see the initial scene, the reaction to that scene. So this to me just felt like we're going to try to surprise the audience by having, oh no, Gregson's dead. And it just feels cheap. But everything else with Gregson was pretty good, and it's a pretty good setup. Again, cautiously optimistic because they've had pretty good setups in the past that they've botched at the end. But I like the idea that this guy, I don't remember his name now because I'm terrible with names, he's lying about the sequence of events that it took from Gregson questioning him to him going and shooting him at the baseball field. It is kind of a, why would he lie about the sequence of events? It is kind of an interesting question because obviously he's still telling the truth about shooting him. So if he's telling the truth about that, it doesn't make sense why he would lie about the build up to it. Unless, as Joan pointed out, he's trying to cover the way that he found out that Gregson was there. It wasn't that he followed him, it was that somebody tipped him off. So I like that setup. It does build toward a bigger picture that they are definitely leaning towards, that it's going to be some bigger operation that he's a part of and that this Bledsoe kid was a part of. I do at least remember Bledsoe as a name. I don't remember the kid's first name now. Tim, maybe? Yeah, the build up for this case is good. I will say the wife being involved, not a huge surprise. The way that she was acting whenever Joan was there, all I could think was, if she's not involved, then my God, I hope we at least get a karma scene for her where we get to see her reaction whenever she finds out all of what Joan is saying is true. Just her reaction throughout the entire scene. It was this higher, mightier than thou reaction. And so seeing that she knows about what's been going on, yeah, that makes sense. The way you're acting, the way you're reacting to Joan, I wanted you to be involved just so I could feel justified in my hatred for your character. I don't know why, but I just absolutely despised her. Something about these characters that are played in a way that's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. You're wrong about this. I know my husband. Always gets under my skin. I don't know why. Maybe it's the cockiness. Maybe it's the arrogance. Maybe that's part of it. But there's just something about it that all I could think was, I really, really hope she's involved because I want to hate her. I want to hate her and be like, you're a terrible person. And finding out she knows about all this and she's probably going to deliver this information that's going to have whoever the big group is go after Joan. To me, that just confirms, okay, I should be hating her. That's good to know. I don't hate her for no reason at all. But we didn't get any information as far as the group is concerned. But I'm assuming we're probably going to start getting little bits of that throughout the season. And then probably about halfway through is when we'll get introduced to whatever this group is and what they're trying to do. And I feel like at that point it'll kind of be, we'll have some cases mixed in while they're taking steps toward trying to stop the group, and then the season will end with the group being stopped. That's just kind of my theory on how it's going to go based on how the show has gone before and how I've seen other shows run. That just tends to be how it works out. But with that being said, we'll move on to the second episode. I'll see you there in just a sec. And now episode 5, Into the Woods. So another one that, again, the main case was it was okay. It had some decent moments throughout it, but for the most part, it ends up just kind of falling a little bit flat because of the pacing of it and how they don't really give us these moments of we're figuring it out along the way. And hell, they even kind of took some of the potential for kind of a good reaction at the end of it. Holmes just tells Bell, this is the guy. They take him in to arrest him, and then they explain his whole motive. And we don't even get to see the reaction of the guy that he was trying to kill and his wife, who this guy was obsessed with, and the reason he was trying to kill her husband. But I think that's the only real issue I had with the case. Everything else was just your typical elementary case. It's kind of weird. This guy and his pig both drowned at the bottom of a lake. This runner was stabbed because she witnessed it. There's a lot of stuff going on that you don't really know how it's all connected, and then by the end of it, you see how it's all connected. It all makes some sort of sense. The only thing that doesn't really make much sense is the guy that got shot in the mouth apparently was shot before the other 2 people in the pig were killed. That to me doesn't make sense. Getting shot in the mouth, I know it wouldn't be fatal instantly. I'm pretty sure after, it would have been like day and a half at least, probably 2 days, I don't think you would still be alive after all of that. But for some reason he still is, and they have him doing this little typing thing. That was kind of stupid, I will say. Just him typing into a text-to-speech program. First of all, nobody types that fast as the voice was going, and nobody types that accurately. So to think that he was typing that fast and that accurately to where the voice was not making any mistakes at all, to me that just seemed kind of silly. But moving on to the more interesting stuff, the stuff with this Reichenbach character. Don't know much about him. I will say when I saw the actor playing him, I've seen this guy in several other shows, and he always plays like a good villain, at least as far as what I've seen from him. So as soon as I saw him, all I could think was, this guy's gonna be evil, isn't he? And then I find out he apparently is a billionaire, made a donation to Joan. We saw Mears in prison give his wife the little note about Joan. So in my mind, I instantly made a connection there. I was like, this guy plays a great villain. We see that he made a donation to Joan right after Mears gave a note to his wife about Joan. In my mind, that just connected it all. I'm like, this guy is probably going to be behind it, right? I mean, Holmes even called him a genius at one point. So all I could think was, this guy is going to be an evil genius, right? That's what we're doing. That's where we're going with this. So it was no big surprise at the end whenever he revealed all this stuff. I think the big surprise about it is that he did reveal all of this stuff. And I think it does show that he is very conceited, and I would say probably a little self-righteous as well. He's so convinced that what he's doing is right and also will not be proven, like the connection between him and Mears and what happened with Bledsoe. There is a part of me that does sort of wish that maybe he had tried to go along with the ruse a little bit more, but at the same time, like I said, as soon as I saw him, I already made that connection and I already kind of knew. So I guess if they had tried to stretch it out over a few more episodes and there was a question of, well, who's behind this whole thing, I might have gotten a little bit more frustrated and just gone, come on, it's so obviously him. But I don't really know what to expect from this story. I don't know what his overall plan is. Talked about he wanted to stop Bledsoe, but at the same time, I thought there was supposed to be like this terrorist cell that Bledsoe is a part of. Seemingly that was going to be the main focus, but now he's claiming that he stopped what Bledsoe is trying to do, which in my mind, he thinks that he's stopping this terrorist cell. So is he not going to be connected to the cell? I don't know. I don't know exactly how this all connects. And again, there is that feeling of I'm very interested, very curious to see what this is all going to lead to, but I have to stop myself a little bit and go, hang on. I've seen that do this before. I've seen them set up this very interesting mystery on the outside of all of these individual cases throughout the season, and I've gotten really invested. I've gotten really excited to see how it's all going to wrap up, and then it all just sort of falls flat. So I'm nervous to get excited about it, but I feel like there is something really intricate going on here with this guy. Like, if he is the genius that Holmes claims he is, then maybe there is no terrorist cell. But he set it up to make it look like there was so that he could kill this Bledsoe kid for some reason. I don't know what his goal would be. I'm very interested to see what the explanation behind all of this is, because it feels like there's not going to be a simple explanation. There's something very intricate and complex going on here. We'll see what happens, but that's about it for this one. So now on to the 6th episode. I'll see you there in a sec. And finally, episode 6, Command Delete. Not bad. I think the main case in this one, once again, the detriment, just not all that interesting. Very well connected, I will say. Like how they utilize a lot of the stuff with this guy's condition, and even the guy that was asked to be a sniper, you know, his condition as well, and how that connected to the Bautistas and all of the stuff that ended up being involved. I don't remember the name of everything. I just remember the Bautista family is kind of the one that was mentioned a lot near the end. But the rest of it is just, it's pretty simplistic. I will say the fact that Sherlock talked about the girl's pregnancy whenever they went to the doctor's office, in my mind, I was like, all right, so that's going to be involved somehow. So I guess she's going to be the killer, more than likely. I don't know why. It felt so out of place. Just his mentioning it in the midst of all of that, it felt just very random. So all I could think was, you wouldn't make a line like that unless it was going to be important later. So later, whenever they're talking about the heirs to the Bautista fortune, and all of a sudden Joan brings up, oh, he hasn't been born yet, clicked in my mind. I'm like, well, that's why she's pregnant then, because it's going to be his kid. So in that sense, it was very formulaic, like a lot of these CBS shows tend to be, I believe. Especially after you get past the first 4 or 5 seasons of most of these shows, you can figure out the formula pretty well. For Elementary, you always meet the killer or the bad guy at some point, and they tend to be just kind of a side throwaway character. You mention them, you see them, they have a few lines, you don't really think much about them, and then at the end they turn out to be the killer, and there's some big motive that's involved that you didn't know about before. Like I said, main case, not all that interesting, but the stuff with Reichenbach right now, starting to pick up steam. Once again, that cautious optimism of, I like where it's headed. You've got this NSA agent that Holmes is talking to, and I did kind of get the feeling that he might be involved. Just his mannerism at the beginning of the episode, there was something about it that in my mind, all I could think was, he's going to be in Reichenbach's pocket, isn't he? I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but I had this feeling that he was going to be connected to Reichenbach. So yeah, by the end of the episode, when he's given Holmes this speech about why he does work with Reichenbach, it wasn't too much of a surprise. That speech does sort of give Reichenbach the more villain feel at this point. Yes, he does want to work with Holmes and Watson, so it's not like he's trying to kill them and trying to snuff them out. He does want them to be on his side, but you could see that he's starting to reach a point where he realizes it's not going to be as easy as just, hey, let me pitch this idea to you and please work with me. It's not going to be as just easy as convincing them. I think he's starting to realize for Holmes, it's going to be a lot more about, I'm going to have to threaten this guy. I'm going to have to beat him down for him to want to work with me. And something about that is kind of interesting. I don't think I've seen Holmes go through this type of story before where a villain basically comes to him and says, hey, work for me or else. But I think for Holmes, what's going to be interesting is to see at what point will he be pushed to the limit. Because obviously we're already seeing they're threatening the people closest to him. And I will say that is one thing that, as I've said before, whenever I've talked about the show, seeing Holmes be a bit more human does feel a little weird, and I do feel like there are moments whenever I have to remind myself that this is Sherlock Holmes, because he doesn't always act like it. He is still a very good detective, but he's much less, I would say, sociopathic compared to the other Holmes that I've seen in the past, where it feels like he does actually care about a lot of these people, and not just in a, I care about the people that can benefit me. You know, he's not using them to any means. He actually does care because he has normal human emotions. I'm not a big fan of that change, but it does lead to this. I feel like this Holmes could be pressured. I feel like there is a chance he could be pressured into working with this guy, where every other version of Holmes, if somebody said they were going after the people closest to him, for his mind, I don't think he would be as put off by it. You know, he still would try to stop the bad guys. He still would try to make sure that Watson, or if there was anybody in Scotland Yard that he was working with, that he did form a bit of a professional relationship with, I do think there would still be a mindset of, I'm going to keep them from being hurt, but I don't feel like he would emotionally be troubled by this. I don't feel like he'd be pushed to a limit by this. But this Holmes could be. I could see him emotionally getting really beaten down. And so I don't know if that's where they're going to go with it. If they do, that could be an interesting turn. Again, it's not really a Holmes story that I would expect, but it's something different. It's something that I don't think we've seen even from this Holmes before. So we'll see if that's what they're going to do with it, but I am somewhat excited to see what the rest of the season holds. Really hope that's not going to bite me in the ass. I really am worried that that's what's going to happen. But anyways, with all of that being said, those are my thoughts on these 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Elementary reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of reviews on here as well as some Let's Plays. So check those out if you have time. But until next time, hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.